welcome back. Or for those of you who don't know me, I'm Malin, and today I'm bringing you 3 20-minute meals that are perfect for weeknight dinners or for a quick meal when you're pinched for time and still want something yummy and nutritious. And the first thing we're making is a quick cooking polenta that I'm serving with some sauteed smoked tofu, kale and mushrooms. So let's get started. To start, I'm going to bring some water to a boil for the polenta, and I'm doing about 3/4 of the water at first. And I'm going to add in 1 stock cube to the water so that we have some flavor going already from the base of the polenta. To help the water boil faster, I put the lid on the pot, and while that comes to a boil, I'm going to prep the veggies that I'm going to top the polenta with. So I'm starting with some shallots that I peel and slice into sort of slivers. Once I slice them, my water is boiling, so I'm going to add the polenta into the water. And first I just give it a little whisk to dissolve the stock cube properly. Then I measure out my polenta, and while I'm stirring, I'm adding in the polenta little by little. I make sure to whisk it all really well to make sure there are no lumps, and then I add in a little bit more water to thin it out, and then I let it simmer for about 10 minutes. And while that's cooking away on low heat, I continue with my veggies, and I'm going to have some mushrooms in this, so I clean them off with a paper towel or a clean cloth, and then I just chop them into chunks. I'm using chestnut mushrooms, but you could use any type of mushroom that you have on hand or that you like. I'm also going to add in some smoked tofu for some protein and yummy flavor, so I'm just chopping that into cubes. Next, I pour a little drizzle of oil into a skillet that I've warmed, and then I start sauteing the shallots. And this only takes a couple of minutes until they start softening and going a little bit golden around the edges. Then I add in the mushrooms and the tofu, and I saute this for about 5 or so minutes. You want the mushrooms to release the liquid and then for that liquid to evaporate. And in the meantime, I am going to prep some kale. I have some cavolo nero, a darker type of kale, and I just remove it from the stem. I chop it up into bite-sized pieces, and then it's ready to add into the pan when the mushrooms are looking good. Once the kale is in the pan, I season with some garlic granules or powder, as well as some salt and black pepper. I give it all a good toss, and then I'm also going to season with a little bit of soy sauce. This just gives more of an umami flavor to the whole thing, but be careful not to over salt when you're using the soy sauce as well. While the kale is softening up in the pan over low heat, I'm going to add some nutritional yeast to my now finished polenta. I'm also seasoning with a pinch of salt, and then I mix it all really well to combine. The nutritional yeast gives it a little bit of a cheesy, deeper flavor, and once it's all mixed through, it's ready to serve. So I like to just pop it on some plates and spread it out into a circle, but you can serve it in any which way you like. And I top it with my sauteed veg and tofu. To finish off the dish, I'm going to sprinkle over some toasted pumpkin seeds for a little bit of crunch, and add a lemon wedge that you can squeeze over the top when you're ready to eat. This just brings out more flavor and adds a tangy touch. Next up, we're making a coconut curry with chickpeas and spinach, and I think this type of meal is perfect for when you need to throw something together quickly, because I'm using a lot of canned goods and just using a bag of spinach to cut down on prep time. There's very little chopping involved in this, but it's yummy and I'm excited to show you. I'm serving this chickpea curry with some rice, so I start by adding some white rice into a pot and pouring over some water. Then I swirl it around to rinse the rice, and I drain that water before I pop the pot on the hob, add fresh water and cook it. I do 1 part rice to 2 parts water. I cover it with a lid, bring the whole thing to a boil, and then turn down to a simmer until all the water is gone. And in the meantime, I'm prepping the veg for the curry, and I'm starting off by just chopping up 1 onion. When that onion is chopped and ready to go, I add some oil to a large pot that I'm going to temper some cumin seeds in. So when the oil is hot, I add in the cumin seeds and I let them sort of saute in there until they're really fragrant and a slightly darker shade of brown. That's when I add in the onions and I saute them until they're translucent. Next up, I grab some garlic and I press that into the pot. I allow this to saute for about 1 minute just to allow the flavors to come together and the garlic to become fragrant before I add in some tomato puree. I'm also going to add in some curry powder and some garam masala to give this dish lots of flavor. So I pop that in, and I'm also adding a pinch of chili flakes before I just mix it all up and allow that to saute for just 1 minute to combine and cook off the raw tomato flavor before I pour in a can of chopped tomatoes. I'm also going to add 1 can of coconut milk. I use a little bit of water to get the last bits of tomato out of my can that I just pour into the pot as well before adding 1 vegetable stock cube just to give it a good savory flavor base. I also season with salt and I allowed this sauce to simmer for a few minutes before I add in 1 can of chickpeas and 1 can of white beans, but of course you could use just chickpeas if that's what you prefer. I give the beans a good mix through the sauce before I add in lots of fresh spinach, and I'm using baby spinach, but you could use bigger spinach as well, cut into smaller pieces. And I just mix that through until it wilts on very low heat. I'm going to serve this dish with some crushed salted peanuts, so I pop those into my pestle and mortar and I bash them up, but of course you could serve them whole as well, it's whatever you prefer. I'm ready to serve now, so I pop my cooked rice onto the plate and then I serve the quick curry over the rice. Finally, I sprinkle over my crushed peanuts, and I'm also going to tear up some fresh coriander over the plate, but this is optional, you don't have to do it. I know many people don't like it, so just leave it out if you don't like it. You could also use parsley or some other herb that you like. Thai basil could be really cool on this, for example. The final recipe I'm sharing with you today is tacos, and I'm making them with tempeh, which is a fermented bean product, usually made with soybeans, but can be made with other types of beans as well. And I'm just sauteing that with some spices. I'm going to serve it with some crunchy veggies and a avocado creamy sauce and call it a day. And tacos never really disappoint, do they? So let's make them. To start off, we're gonna prep some crunchy veg to go in our tacos. So I am slicing up some red cabbage to start. Next, I'm going to grate 1 carrot to add a little bit of orange to the mix and some nice sweetness. The third and final veggie going into this mix are some fresh radishes, which are one of my favorite spring vegetables, and I'm just going to slice those up into thin slices. I pop all my veggies into a mixing bowl and I'm going to squeeze some lime juice over all of it, which just gives lots of freshness. I'm also adding a few drops of this green hot sauce made from jalapenos and seasoning with some salt before I toss it all to mix. Then I set it aside for the flavors to come together while I prep the rest of the dish. And I start by slicing up 1 red onion that I'm going to saute. Once the onion has softened and gotten some color on it, I'm going to crumble in some tempeh. Tempeh is a fermented bean product. The particular kind I'm using is made from lupin, but the most common variety is made from soybeans. But you can find it made from all sorts of beans, and I just crumble it into my pan. I let it get a bit toasty, and then I season it with some taco seasoning. I just buy this pre-prepped from the store. I'm also drizzling in some soy sauce to give a more savory, salty flavor, and the tempeh is really great at soaking up any flavor that you add to it. So I'm just gonna let that cook off while I make an avocado creamy sauce. I add some fresh avocado into my stick blender bowl and I pour in some unsweetened plant yogurt. I'm using an oat-based one, but you could use any type you like. I add some garlic powder and some salt, and then I'm squeezing in some more lime juice. This makes it really tangy and it goes really great with the savory tempeh. Finally, I use my stick blender to create a really creamy, smooth sauce that is yummy on these tacos. The tempeh cooked nicely during the time I prepped the sauce, and we're almost ready to serve. I'm just heating up some corn tortillas in a dry pan. You could use wheat tortillas as well, of course, if you prefer, but when mine are toasty, I like to pop the salad into them and then add my tempeh over that. I dollop a bit of my avocado cream sauce onto the tacos, and then I'm going to finish them off with a little bit of fresh coriander. Again, you can leave this out if you're not a coriander fan, but for all of us who like it, it really just brings a nice freshness to the dish. I also like to serve them with some lime wedges for squeezing over the top. So that's it for my 20-minute meals for this time. I hope you've enjoyed this video and that you will find the recipes useful. I will leave links to the full recipes in the description box as well if you want to refer to those. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye.